The door was still open, just a crack enough. Min-jae stood in the dim hallway of his own home, shirt unbuttoned, the tattoo on his neck visible in the low light. The woman in front of him wasn't his wife. She was the maid, Zara. Her hands rested on his chest, her fingers tracing the ink slowly, deliberately. Her eyes held his without flinching. "You know what you're doing," he said, voice flat, unreadable. "I know exactly what I'm doing." Her accent was soft, her confidence wasn't. His jaw tightened. He didn't move away, didn't move closer either, but the space between them had already collapsed in ways that couldn't be undone. Down the hall, behind another door, Jae-yoon stood frozen. Her hand covered her mouth, her breathing shallow. She had paid for this, orchestrated it, but watching it unfold was something else entirely. This wasn't supposed to feel like betrayal. It was supposed to feel like freedom. Instead, it felt like the end of everything. "First time here, you're already in, stay close. The next story's already in motion." 3 months earlier, the penthouse had been a different kind of prison. Jae-yoon sat at the dining table alone, staring at a plate of food she didn't want. The floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Seoul skyline, the city lights glittering like scattered diamonds. Beautiful, cold, empty. Min-jae had left before dawn again. Business, he'd said, always business. She didn't ask anymore. She used to. In the beginning, she'd cared about the meetings, the deals, the people who called him at midnight with voices that sounded like warnings. But caring had become exhausting, and somewhere along the way, she'd stopped. Their marriage had started like a transaction. His family needed legitimacy. Hers needed protection. Love wasn't part of the contract, but it had shown up anyway, quietly, stubbornly, in the spaces between his carefully chosen words and her careful silences. But love wasn't enough to survive what he'd become. Min-jae wasn't just wealthy. He was feared. His name carried weight in rooms where laws didn't apply. He moved money, controlled territories, made decisions that left people indebted or gone. And he did it all with the same calm precision he used to tie his tie in the morning. Jae-yoon had once admired that control. Now it suffocated her. She pushed the plate away and stood. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. She walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and stared at the rows of designer clothes she never wore anymore. Everything was a gift. Everything was a reminder. She needed out, but leaving a man like Min-jae wasn't simple. It required leverage, a reason, something undeniable. That's when the idea started to take shape. Zara arrived 2 weeks later. The agency had sent her with a glowing reference, efficient, discreet, experienced with high-profile households. Jae-yoon had hired her on the spot, not because of the reference, but because of the way Zara carried herself. Grounded, unimpressed, the kind of woman who wouldn't flinch at wealth or power. She was beautiful too, in a way that didn't ask for permission. Dark skin that caught the light, natural hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless but wasn't. She moved through the penthouse like she belonged there, but never like she needed to. "Mrs. Kang," Zara said on her first day, setting a tray of tea on the table. "Anything else you need?" Jae-yoon looked up from her laptop. "No, thank you." Zara nodded and turned to leave. "Actually," Jae-yoon stopped her. "How long have you been in Seoul?" 2 years. "You like it here?" "It pays well." Zara's tone was neutral, polite, but not warm. "Is there something specific you wanted to know?" Jae-yoon smiled, just making conversation. Zara didn't return the smile. She left the room without another word. Smart, Jae-yoon thought. She doesn't trust easily. Good, neither did Min-jae. Min-jae didn't notice Zara at first, or if he did, he didn't show it. He came home late most nights, poured himself a drink, and disappeared into his office. Jae-yoon watched him through the glass door sometimes, the way he sat in the dark with only the glow of his phone screen illuminating his face. He looked tired, older than 32. But he never let it show anywhere else. One night, Jae-yoon tested the waters. "The new maid is competent," she said over dinner. Min-jae didn't look up from his plate. "Good. She's African, from Kenya, I think." "Okay. Does that bother you?" He finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Why would it?" "Some people have opinions." "I'm not some people." He returned to his food. "If she does her job, I don't care where she's from." Jae-yoon nodded slowly. "Of course." But she'd seen something in that brief moment. Not discomfort, not curiosity, just nothing. Min-jae didn't react to things that didn't matter to him. And if Zara didn't matter, that meant she was invisible. Perfect. Because invisible people could get close. The plan took shape slowly, carefully. Jae-yoon started small. She asked Zara to bring Min-jae his coffee in the mornings, to organize his office when he was out, to stay late on nights when Jae-yoon claimed she had appointments. Zara never questioned it. She did her job with the same calm efficiency, never lingering, never overstepping. But proximity was proximity, and Min-jae was human, even if he pretended otherwise. Jae-yoon watched for cracks, a glance held too long, a conversation that went past professional, anything. For weeks there was nothing. Then one evening, Jae-yoon came home early and found them in the kitchen. Min-jae was leaning against the counter, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. Zara was at the sink washing dishes. They weren't touching, weren't even looking at each other, but something about the scene felt off. "You didn't have to do that," Min-jae said. "It's my job," Zara replied. "You're paid to clean, not to wait on me." "Is there a difference?" Min-jae almost smiled. "Almost, I guess not." Jae-yoon cleared her throat. They both turned. "Sorry," she said, stepping into the kitchen. "Didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not," Zara said, drying her hands. "I was just finishing." She left the room without looking back. Min-jae poured himself a drink, his expression neutral again. "You're home early." "Meeting got cancelled." Jae-yoon watched him carefully. "She's blunt." "She's honest," Min-jae corrected. "It's rare." Jae-yoon felt something twist in her chest. Not jealousy, not yet, but something close. "You like that about her?" Min-jae looked at her then, his gaze sharp. "What are you asking me, Jae-yoon?" "Nothing," she smiled, "just curious." He held her gaze for a moment longer, then nodded. "I have calls to make." He left. Jae-yoon stood in the empty kitchen, her heart pounding. It was working. The next phase required more risk. Jae-yoon started staying out later. Business dinners, she told him. Networking events. She made sure he knew she was busy. Unavailable, distracted. And she made sure Zara was always there when she wasn't. One night she came home past midnight and found Min-jae in the living room, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at the city. Zara was sitting on the opposite couch, a book in her lap. They both looked up when Jae-yoon walked in. "Sorry," Zara said, immediately standing. "I didn't realize how late it was." "It's fine," Jae-yoon said, keeping her tone light. "You're not bothering anyone, are you?" Zara glanced at Min-jae, who said nothing. "I'll go," Zara said. "Stay," Min-jae said. The word hung in the air. Jae-yoon's smile didn't falter, but her chest tightened. "I'm exhausted anyway," Jae-yoon said. "Good night." She left them there and went to the bedroom, but she didn't sleep. She stood by the door, listening to the low murmur of their voices. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was easy, comfortable. She'd created this, orchestrated it, so why did it feel like losing? 2 weeks later, Jae-yoon made her move. She called Zara into her office, the small study she rarely used. Zara came in, calm as always, her hands folded in front of her. "Close the door," Jae-yoon said. Zara did, then she waited. Jae-yoon didn't waste time. "I need you to do something for me." "Of course, what do you need?" "I need you to seduce my husband." The words landed like a stone in water. Zara's expression didn't change, but her posture shifted, just slightly. Guarded. I'm sorry, what? You heard me. Jae-yoon's voice was calm, businesslike. I need proof that he's unfaithful. I need a reason to leave, and I'm willing to pay you very well for it. Zara stared at her. You want me to sleep with him? I want you to make him want to sleep with you, Jae-yoon corrected. Whether it happens or not doesn't matter. I just need him to cross the line, to prove he's capable of it. And you think he is? I think every man is, Jae-yoon said, under the right circumstances. Zara was silent for a long moment. Then she asked, why me? Because you're smart, because he doesn't see you coming, and because, Jae-yoon hesitated, because he already looks at you differently than he looks at anyone else. He doesn't look at me at all. Exactly, Jae-yoon leaned forward. That's how I know it's working. Zara's jaw tightened. What if I say no? Then I'll find someone else, but I'd prefer it to be you. You're already here, already trusted. Jae-yoon paused. And I'm offering you 200 million won. The number hung between them. Zara exhaled slowly. That's a lot of money. It is. Why are you really doing this? Jae-yoon's smile faded. Because I need to be free, and this is the only way. Zara studied her for a long time, then she nodded. Okay. Okay. I'll do it. Jae-yoon felt a rush of relief and something else, something darker. Good, start slow, don't rush it, make it feel real. Zara turned to leave, then stopped at the door. Mrs. Kang. Yes. What happens if he doesn't take the bait? Jae-yoon's expression hardened. He will. Over the next 3 weeks, Zara changed her approach. She started wearing slightly different clothes, nothing obvious, just things that fit better, that moved differently. She let her hair down more often. She lingered in rooms just a little longer. And she talked to him, really talked to him. One night, Jae-yoon overheard them in the office. You don't smile much, Zara said. I don't have much to smile about, Min-jae replied. That's depressing. That's reality. You chose it, though. There was a pause, then Min-jae said, did I? Jae-yoon's hands clenched. The way he said it, tired, almost vulnerable, was something she hadn't heard in years. Zara's voice was softer when she responded. I think everyone chooses something, even if it doesn't feel like it. What did you choose? Survival, Zara said, same as you. Another pause, longer this time. You're perceptive, Min-jae said. You're lonely, Zara replied. Jae-yoon's breath caught. She waited for Min-jae to deny it, to shut it down, to walk away. He didn't. Yeah, he said quietly, I am. Jae-yoon left before she could hear more. Her chest hurt. Her plan was working. So why did it feel like she was the one being betrayed? A week later, Jae-yoon staged her final move. She told Min-jae she was going to Busan for 3 days. Business. He barely looked up from his laptop when she said it. Okay, he said. Zara will be here if you need anything. I won't need anything. Jae-yoon kissed him on the cheek. He didn't kiss back. She left, but she didn't go to Busan. She checked into a hotel 20 minutes away and waited. On the second night, she returned to the penthouse. She used her key quietly, slipped inside, and moved through the dark apartment like a ghost. She found them in the living room. Min-jae was sitting on the couch, shirt unbuttoned, the tattoo on his neck stark against his skin. Zara was standing in front of him, close but not touching. They were talking, their voices low. You should go, Min-jae said. Do you want me to? Zara asked. That's not the question. Then what is? Min-jae looked at her, his expression raw in a way Jae-yoon had never seen. The question is whether I'm strong enough to tell you to. Zara stepped closer, her hand lifted, fingers brushing the edge of his jaw. And are you? Min-jae closed his eyes. His hand came up, caught her wrist, but he didn't push her away. Jae-yoon's breath stopped. Then Min-jae stood abruptly, putting space between them. This can't happen. Why not? Because I don't break my word. Even if the word was broken first. His eyes sharpened. What does that mean? Zara hesitated. Jae-yoon could see the conflict on her face, the weight of the secret she was carrying. Nothing, Zara said finally. I should go. She turned, walked toward the hallway, toward the door where Jae-yoon was hiding. Jae-yoon moved quickly, slipping into the guest room, her heart hammering. She heard the front door close, heard Min-jae's footsteps heading to his office, heard the sound of a glass being poured. And she realized something terrible. Her plan had worked. Min-jae had been tempted, he'd wanted it. But he hadn't taken it. And now she didn't know what to do. The next morning, Jae-yoon returned home early. Min-jae was already gone. Zara was in the kitchen making coffee. Good morning, Jae-yoon said. Zara turned. Her expression was carefully blank. Morning, I thought you weren't back until tomorrow. Plans changed. Jae-yoon poured herself a cup. Everything okay here? Fine. Anything happened while I was gone? Zara's jaw tightened. No. Liar, Jae-yoon thought, but she didn't push, not yet. Good, she said. I'm glad. Zara left the room without another word. Jae-yoon stood alone in the kitchen, staring at her reflection in the window. She looked tired, older, like someone she didn't recognize. She'd set this in motion, paid for it, engineered it. But she hadn't anticipated one crucial thing. Min-jae's loyalty was stronger than his desire, and that made him more dangerous than she'd ever realized. Because if he found out what she'd done, if he discovered that Zara had been bought, that this entire thing had been a trap, he wouldn't just leave her. He'd destroy her. For the next week, Jae-yoon watched them both carefully. Zara avoided Min-jae. She did her work quickly, efficiently, and left rooms the moment he entered them. Min-jae didn't acknowledge it, or if he did, he didn't show it. But Jae-yoon noticed the tension. The way the air changed when they were in the same space. The way Min-jae's gaze would flicker to Zara when he thought no one was looking. And the way Zara's hands would shake slightly when she poured his coffee. Something had shifted. The plan had worked, but not the way Jae-yoon had intended. She'd wanted proof of betrayal. Instead, she'd created something far more dangerous. Emotional attachment. One night she cornered Zara in the hallway. What happened? Jae-yoon demanded, voice low. Zara looked at her. Nothing. Don't lie to me, I can see it, both of you. He didn't do anything, Zara said. He stopped it. Then why do you look like that? Like what? Like you wish he hadn't. Zara's expression cracked just for a second, then she rebuilt it. What do you want from me, Mrs. Kang? I want you to finish what you started. I can't. You can, you just don't want to. Because it's wrong, Zara said, voice rising. He's a good man, flawed, dangerous, whatever, but he's good. And what you're doing to him. What I'm doing, Jae-yoon stepped closer. I'm paying you to do a job. You're paying me to destroy him. He destroyed me first. The words came out harsher than Jae-yoon intended. She saw Zara's expression shift, from anger to something closer to pity. Did he, Zara asked quietly, or did you destroy yourself? Jae-yoon's hand moved before she could stop it. The slap echoed in the hallway. Zara didn't flinch. She just stared at Jae-yoon, her cheek red, her eyes steady. You should fire me, Zara said. I should kill you, Jae-yoon replied. But she didn't. She just turned and walked away. 2 days later, Min-jae called Jae-yoon into his office. She found him standing by the window, his back to her. The city stretched out below them, indifferent and glittering. We need to talk, he said. Jae-yoon's pulse quickened. About what? About the fact that you think I'm stupid. Her blood went cold. Min-jae turned. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp, lethal. You hired her to seduce me, he said. Not a question, a fact. Jae-yoon's mind raced. Deny it, double down, run. How long have you known? She asked instead. A week, he stepped closer. Zara told me. Of course she did. Jae-yoon should have seen that coming. So what happens now? Jae-yoon asked. Min-jae studied her. That depends. On what? On whether you can tell me the truth. He paused. Why did you do it? Jae-yoon laughed bitterly. You really don't know. Enlighten me. Because I don't exist to you anymore, she said, voice shaking. I'm just furniture, something you walk past on your way to more important things. And I thought, if you wanted someone else, at least that would be something. At least that would prove you were still capable of feeling anything. Min-jae was silent for a long moment. Then he said, you didn't need to pay someone to find out if I could feel. Then what should I have done? You should have asked me. The simplicity of it broke something in Jae-yoon. She felt tears sting her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Would you have told me the truth? She asked. I don't know, Min-jae said honestly, but you didn't give me the chance. Zara was packing her things when Jae-yoon found her. You told him, Jae-yoon said. Zara didn't stop packing. I had to. Why? Because he asked me if it was real. Zara folded a shirt carefully, and I couldn't lie to him. So you lied to me instead. I didn't lie, I just changed my mind. Zara looked up. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. I know, Zara zipped her bag, but I'm still sorry. She moved toward the door. Jae-yoon blocked her path. He'll come after you, Jae-yoon said. You know that, right? You betrayed me. That has consequences. I know. And you're not scared. Zara smiled faintly. I'm terrified, but some things are worth being scared for. She stepped around Jae-yoon and left. Jae-yoon stood alone in the empty room, surrounded by the remnants of a plan that had collapsed in on itself. She'd wanted leverage, she'd wanted freedom. Instead, she'd lost everything. That night, Min-jae came home late. Jae-yoon was waiting in the living room, a glass of wine in her hand. Are you filing for divorce? She asked. Min-jae shrugged off his jacket. Do you want me to? I asked you first. He poured himself a drink. I haven't decided. What's stopping you? Curiosity, mostly. He sat down across from her. I want to understand why you thought manipulation was easier than honesty. Because honesty requires vulnerability, Jae-yoon said, and vulnerability gets you killed in your world. Not in mine, Min-jae said, in yours. The words hit harder than Jae-yoon expected. You're right, she said quietly. I became exactly what I hated. Min-jae nodded. Yes, you did. They sat in silence. Then Jae-yoon asked, did you love her, even a little? Min-jae looked at her. I don't know, maybe, but it doesn't matter. Why not? Because I made a commitment to you, and I don't break my word. Even when I break mine. Even then. Jae-yoon didn't know whether to feel relieved or heartbroken. So what happens now? She asked. Now, Min-jae said, standing, you decide whether you want to fix this or burn it down. Either way, I need to know. He left the room. Jae-yoon sat alone in the dark, her hands shaking. She'd started this wanting freedom, now she had it. And it felt like drowning. The next morning, Jae-yoon made a decision. She called her lawyer, filed the paperwork, moved out of the penthouse within 48 hours. Min-jae didn't stop her. He watched her pack, his expression unreadable, and when she walked out the door, he said only one thing. Be careful. She didn't ask what he meant. For 3 weeks, Jae-yoon lived in a hotel. She avoided calls, ignored messages, and tried to rebuild something resembling a life. But Seoul was Min-jae's city, and leaving him didn't mean leaving his reach. One night she received a package. Inside was a single photograph. It was Zara, standing outside a cafe talking to someone Jae-yoon didn't recognize. The photo was recent, taken that morning based on the clothes. There was no note, no explanation. But the message was clear. Min-jae was watching, and he wanted Jae-yoon to know it. She found Zara 2 days later. The cafe was small, tucked into a quiet neighborhood. Zara was sitting by the window, a book in her hands. She looked up when Jae-yoon walked in. "Mrs. Kang," she said, voice carefully neutral. "I need to talk to you," Jae-yoon said. Zara gestured to the chair across from her. Jae-yoon sat. "He's having you followed," Jae-yoon said. "I know. You know. I've known since the day I left." Zara closed her book. "He's not subtle about it." "Then why are you still here?" "Where else would I go?" Zara asked. "I took his money. I lied to him. You think he's just going to let that go?" "He's going to hurt you." "Maybe." Zara's expression was calm. "Or maybe he's just making sure I don't disappear before he decides what to do with me." Jae-yoon felt a chill. "You sound like you're waiting for a verdict." "I am." "Why don't you run?" "Because running would prove I'm guilty." Zara met her eyes. "And I'm not of what he thinks anyway." "Then what are you guilty of?" Zara smiled faintly. "Falling for him, even when I knew I shouldn't." The confession hung between them. "He doesn't love you," Jae-yoon said. "I know." "Then why?" "Because some people are worth caring about," Zara interrupted, "even when it costs you everything." Jae-yoon stared at her. "You're naive." "And you're bitter," Zara stood. "I have to go." "Wait." But Zara was already leaving, her book tucked under her arm, her posture steady despite the weight she was carrying. Jae-yoon sat alone in the cafe, staring at the empty chair across from her. She'd created this, every piece of it, and now she couldn't stop it. The call came 3 days later. It was Min-jae. His voice was flat, businesslike. "Meet me at the penthouse tonight, 8 o'clock. "Why?" "Because we need to finish this." "What does that mean?" He hung up. Jae-yoon's hands shook as she lowered the phone. She could ignore it, refuse to go, disappear. But she knew Min-jae. He didn't make empty threats. If she didn't show, he'd come to her. And whatever happened next would be on his terms, not hers. The penthouse looked the same, too clean, too empty. Min-jae was standing by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He didn't turn when she walked in. "Close the door," he said. She did. "Sit." She sat. Min-jae finally turned. His expression was calm, but there was something cold in his eyes, something final. "I've been thinking," he said, "about what you did, why you did it, what it cost." Jae-yoon said nothing. "You wanted a reason to leave," Min-jae continued. "You wanted me to fail, to prove I was weak or selfish or capable of betrayal, because that would make leaving easier." "Yes," Jae-yoon said quietly. "But I didn't fail." His voice hardened. "I stopped, even when I wanted it, even when she was right there, I stopped." "I know." "And that made it worse for you, didn't it?" Min-jae stepped closer. "Because now you don't have a reason, you just have the truth, that you gave up on us before I did." Jae-yoon's chest tightened. "You gave up on us a long time ago, you just didn't leave." "Neither did you." The words landed like a punch. "So what happens now?" Jae-yoon asked. "You punish me, destroy me, make me regret it." Min-jae studied her, then he set his glass down. "No," he said, "I let you go." Jae-yoon blinked. "What?" "I'll sign the papers, no contest. You can have whatever you want. The apartment in Gangnam, the car, half my accounts, whatever." "I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to tell me why," Jae-yoon said, voice breaking. "Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you just give in?" Min-jae's jaw tightened. "Because the moment I did, I'd become everything I swore I wouldn't. My father broke every promise he made, every word, every bond. and I watched it destroy him. I promised myself I'd never be like that, even if it meant being alone. Especially then. Jae-yoon felt tears sting her eyes. You're going to die alone, Min-jae. Maybe, he said, but I'll die with my word intact. She stood, walked to the door, stopped. What about Zara? She asked. Min-jae didn't answer for a long moment. Then he said, that's not your concern anymore. Jae-yoon left without looking back. Zara received the message 2 hours later. It was an address, nothing else. She went. The building was in a quiet part of the city, nondescript and unmarked. She climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor and knocked on the door. Min-jae opened it. They stared at each other. Come in, he said. She did. The apartment was small, sparse, not his, probably rented under a name that didn't exist. Why am I here? Zara asked. Because you owe me the truth. I told you the truth. You told me what she paid you to do, Min-jae said, not why you agreed. Zara exhaled. Does it matter? To me it does. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, I needed the money. My sister's sick back home. The treatments are expensive and I thought, she stopped, swallowed. I thought I could do it without it meaning anything. But then I met you, and it did mean something and I couldn't go through with it. Min-jae studied her. You could have walked away. I tried. You asked me to stay. And you did. Yes. Why? Zara looked at him. Because you looked at me like I was real, not just a job, not just someone passing through, and no one's looked at me like that in a long time. Min-jae stepped closer. That's dangerous. I know. You should leave Seoul tonight, before this gets worse. Is that an order? It's advice. And if I don't take it? His jaw tightened. Then you'll end up like everyone else who gets close to me, hurt or worse. Zara smiled faintly. Maybe I'm willing to risk it. You shouldn't be. But I am. They stood inches apart. The air between them was charged, heavy with everything unsaid. Then Min-jae stepped back. I can't do this. I know. It's not because I don't want to. I know that too. Zara turned to leave. Min-jae caught her wrist. Wait, he said. She stopped. Your sister, the treatment, how much? I don't need your money. That's not what I asked. Zara told him. Min-jae released her wrist. It'll be in your account tomorrow. Min-jae. Consider it severance, he said, for a job you couldn't finish. Zara's eyes filled. Thank you. He nodded. Now go and don't come back. She left. Min-jae stood alone in the empty apartment, staring at the door she just walked through. He'd kept his word. He hadn't crossed the line. But it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like loss. 3 months later, Jae-yoon signed the final papers. The divorce was clean. No drama, no public spectacle. Min-jae kept his word. She got everything she'd asked for. And she felt nothing. She moved to a new apartment in a different part of the city, started working again, something unrelated to Min-jae's world, tried to rebuild. But some nights, she'd stand by the window and stare out at the skyline, and she'd wonder if he was standing at his window too, wondering the same thing. Zara left Seoul 2 weeks after that night. She went home, used the money to pay for her sister's treatments, watched her recover, rebuilt her life. But she never forgot the man with the tattoo on his neck, the one who'd stopped when no one else would have, the one who'd let her go even when he didn't want to. She didn't contact him, didn't try to reach out. Some doors once closed should stay that way. Min-jae never remarried. He built his empire, made his deals, controlled his territories. And every night, he poured himself a drink and stood by the window, staring out at the city. He thought about Jae-yoon sometimes, about the ways they'd failed each other, about the love that had curdled into resentment and manipulation. But mostly, he thought about Zara, about the way she'd looked at him, like he was human, like he was worth something beyond his name and his power. And he wondered if he'd made the right choice, if keeping his word had cost him the only real thing he'd ever had. He never found out, because some questions don't have answers, they just have consequences. What started as a calculated plan turned into a dangerous game, and in the final moments, everyone had to face the consequences of their actions. Trust was broken, and lives were shattered forever. What would you do if everything you loved turned out to be a lie? Would you stay, or would you walk away from it all?